faces a lot of problems, but in some parts of the world, people live in a time of overconsumption, abundance of food, and an eagerness to be fit and healthy. The supermarket is overflowing with options, but despite that, we are poorly advised in nutrition and easily vulnerable to misinformation. Unreliable slogans, inaccurate health promises, and colorful, tempting packages are cluttering our relationship with food and risking our well-being. We are bombarded by conflicting information about food, diets, and supplements. So how can we know what's best for us? Which foods improve health and which ones can potentially promote disease? I have struggled with these questions for a long time, and it has been a challenge to find a diet that would help me achieve my health goals. After trying several yo-yo diets over the years, I decided to change my lifestyle by simply incorporating lots of plant-based foods into my diet. So far, it has worked for me. I lost 50 pounds, got my blood pressure, blood sugar, and cholesterol under control, and overall felt really good. But it was a work in progress, and I still had many questions and concerns about nutrition and living this plant-based lifestyle for the long run. Especially now, with a recent addition to our family, I felt that I really needed to find answers. So I decided to go on a journey to search for the truth and to uncover many of the myths surrounding food. For 3 years, I traveled across the country and interviewed the world's top authorities on the subject, as well as people that had experienced amazing life-changing benefits through healthy eating. All to explore the idea of what is the healthiest and most sustainable diet for ourselves, future generations, and our planet. So join me on this journey of shocking discoveries and buckle up, because what you're about to learn might forever change the way you look at the food on your plate.
Look at these cute little guys, so sweet and delicious. You just want to eat them up, right? That's the problem. We consume so much sugar these days that it's killing us. Seriously. You see, sugar is everywhere. It's in all the usual suspects, but you might not realize that it's in a lot of other foods. Did you know that our daily intake averages 95 grams? That might not sound like a lot, but it adds up to 77 pounds of added sugar every year. Now look at the American Heart Association's daily recommendations. It's no wonder 1 in 3 adults and 1 in 5 kids are obese. It's not just because sugar tastes good, it's also addictive. Consuming it, even thinking about it, causes a euphoric effect that triggers the production of dopamine in your brain, a neurotransmitter that controls pleasure and is responsible for reward-motivated behavior. Studies show sugar is as addictive as alcohol or cocaine, and it's hard to avoid. There are about 600,000 different packaged food items in grocery stores today, and 80% of them contain added sugars. But what we drink could be our biggest problem. Guzzle just one of these beverages and you've more than filled your daily recommended sugar allowance. It's tricky. Did you know that food manufacturers use more than 30 different names for the most common sugars? So what's the problem? Well, sugars are carbohydrates that are roughly half glucose and half fructose. Consuming glucose makes your pancreas secrete a hormone called insulin, which, among other things, causes your body to store fat. Your liver deals with the fructose, but you can't do it in the quantities that many of us consume today. It releases some of it as fat, but most of that backs up in your liver cells. Now you've got a condition called insulin resistance. You're secreting more and more insulin in response to all the carbs in your diet, and even the proteins. The result? You get fatter, and you get fatty buildup in your now inflamed arteries. You're what some doctors call metabolically disturbed. Your body can no longer regulate itself. Eventually, it will kill you. Along the way, your pancreas might give out and you'll become diabetic. And there's reason to believe that metabolic disturbances cause high blood pressure, heart disease, cancer, and, of course, obesity. Well, the good news is that there are 5 simple things you can do to avoid and reverse the damage. Number 1, avoid sugary drinks. All that glucose and fructose literally is an assault on your system. Give tea or carbonated water a try, something besides processed sugar water. Why drink all your calories? Number 2, read labels carefully. Yeah, processed foods are convenient, but often they're loaded with sugar and provide little nutrition. Number 3, exercise a little. It may not seem like much, but a daily half-hour walk helps reduce stress and control your blood sugar and cravings. Number 4, don't trust processed low-fat foods. Guess what? The missing fat is usually replaced by salt and sugar, and your body just converts the added sugar into fat after you eat. And number 5, eat more fiber. Try to eat at least 25 to 30 grams of fiber every day. Fiber-rich foods typically are high in vitamins and antioxidants and keep you feeling full longer. Hey, it just comes down to making smarter choices. The foods you eat can either be the safest and most powerful form of medicine or the slowest form of poison.
Big Tobacco took the billions of profits they made from generations of addicted smokers and invested in something more family-friendly. Something that could have a big effect on our future. Something that we consume every day. The food we eat. In 1985, tobacco giant R.J. Reynolds bought Nabisco Foods. Tobacco pioneer Philip Morris bought General Foods and 3 years later, Kraft Foods, making them the largest food producer in North America. And leaving the business of food in the capable hands of the same corporations who helped addict us to tobacco. Using the same tactics they used to promote tobacco, food companies set about peddling the entire planet a diet of processed goods, loaded with chemicals and additives, masquerading as food. This new machine operates with specific targets in mind, like addicting consumers, without them knowing it.
When I realized that this is not some accident, it's the food that they think is the same is not the same anymore. You know, everybody's for free choice. Whether we're liberal or whether we're conservative, we've all got that streak in us. But the fact is, you cannot have free choice unless you have an informed choice. And you can't have an informed choice if they're lying about what's on the label. What about PAM cooking spray? Everybody knows what PAM is. It's some kind of little healthy oil with compressed air that you spray it and it gets on your pan. It's not compressed air. And they don't tell you, but it's butane and propane. People don't understand that they are spraying lighter fluid on their children's hotcakes, and it's fabulously successful. But we're gonna sue their pants off.
What I'm about to unfold for you is a story. It is a scientific story, but it is also a very personal story.
I'm Dr. David Servan-Schreiber. 16 years ago, I was diagnosed with brain cancer.
1 out of 2 people will get cancer in their lifetime.
Those are the 3 most life-altering words anyone can hear is, you have cancer.
I felt this tumor and I just knew. And I realized, holy cow, I've got this thing.
70% of cancers are preventable.
If you accept the fact that maybe you contributed to your problem, then maybe I can contribute to solving the problem.
The way we live influences the way we die.
We've been looking at this disease the wrong way.
We don't even like the word cancer. We always whisper like, cancer.
If I can do something that is very likely to help me and has very few chances of hurting me,
I will never go back.
Then I'm going to do it, whatever the critics say.
Genetic engineering is a process where scientists take genes from one species and force it into the DNA of other species.
Every single independent study conducted on the impact of genetically modified food shows that it damages organs, it causes infertility, it causes immune system failure, it causes holes in the GI tract, it causes multiple organ system failure.
The whole concept of genetically modified organisms is throwing a monkey wrench in the life on this planet.
What if we could produce more yield on the same amount of land, squeeze more water from a single raindrop, conserve natural resources while caring for the environment?
Monsanto is the company that told us that PCBs were safe. They told us that Agent Orange was safe. They told us that DDT was safe, and now they're in charge of telling us if their own genetically modified foods are safe.
The reason why we have 170 million acres of genetically engineered corn and soybeans and cotton and canola oil and sugar beets in the United States is because it doesn't have to be labeled.
The first genetically modified animal, a salmon, may soon be approved for human consumption.
Both these fish are 18 months old, but the larger genetically engineered Aqua Advantage salmon grows twice as fast as the regular salmon.
There has not been sufficient animal health testing, human health testing, or environmental impact testing of these new transgenic fish.
Basically, they've taken agriculture and built an industrial model which doesn't fit nature. So instead of changing their agricultural model to accommodate what is natural, they're changing nature to accommodate the industrial model. If you have an organic corn crop that sits next to a genetically engineered corn field, and it happens to tassel at the same time, and it happens to be downwind, you're going to get your crop contaminated.
The rest of the food supply is contaminated. Then the genie is out of the bottle, and it's maybe physically impossible to turn the situation around.
In the genetic engineering revolution, these seeds are now patented property of one corporation called Monsanto.
The pharmaceutical industry has no interest in having you well because they don't make any money if you're well. And the pharmaceutical industry is the biotech industry.
Some people think that GMO really means God move over.
We are heading downhill at a rapid rate of speed toward our own extinction.
The use of GM in agriculture is a risk that is simply not worth taking.
The way we eat has changed more in the last 50 years than in the previous 10,000. The modern supermarket has on average 47,000 products.
The industry doesn't want you to know the truth about what you're eating, because if you knew, you might not want to eat it. We've never had food companies this powerful in our history.
Everything we've done in modern agriculture is to grow it faster, fatter, bigger, cheaper.
If you could grow a chicken in 49 days, why would you want one you got to grow in 3 months?
When you go through the supermarket, there is an illusion of diversity. So much of our industrial food turns out to be rearrangements of corn.
Sometimes you look at a vegetable and say, okay, well, we can get 2 hamburgers for the same price.
They have managed to make it against the law to criticize their products.
There is an effort to make it illegal to publish a photo of any industrial food operation.
I find it incredible that the FDA wants to allow the sale of meat from cloned animals without any labeling.
Peanut butter contaminated with salmonella.
E. coli has been found in spinach, apple juice.
Smells like money to me.
The average consumer does not feel very powerful. It's the exact opposite.
When we run an item past the supermarket scanner, we're voting for local or not, organic or not.
Look at the tobacco industry. The battle against tobacco is a perfect model of how an industry's irresponsible behavior can be changed.
Imagine what it would be if, as a national policy, the idea would be to have such nutritionally dense food that people actually felt better, had more energy, and weren't sick as much. You know, now see, that's a noble goal.
People have got to start demanding good, wholesome food of us, and we'll deliver, I promise you.
One of the best things terrorists could do is just build more fast food restaurants, maybe add another pharmaceutical company, have a couple more infomercials, and encourage people to eat the way they eat now. And everybody's going to be dead in 100 years. They can just walk right in, don't have to do a thing.
Superstars, large fry, Big Mac, Coca-Cola, go on, man. Pick your poison.
1/4 of what you eat keeps you alive, and 3/4 of what you eat keeps your doctor alive.
Cancer rates going up, heart disease going up, stroke going up.
We're poisoning ourselves with highly processed, nutrient-depleted foods.
One of the major problems is what we do to the soil and the air and the water and everything we take in our food.
We, for whatever reason, decided we're going to spray everything with every kind of pesticide, herbicide, larvicide, fungicide. We decided we're going to genetically modify things we don't know anything about. Can we actually improve what has already been created? And the answer is maybe, but not the way we've been doing it.
If you want to know what's wrong, look down at the table. It's staring back at you.
Think of it as chronic malnutrition, because that's what's going on.
But if we think we're going to go to the doctor and get a pill for everything, we've missed the whole point. We have been taught our whole lives to be consumers of modern medicine, which is pharmaceutical medicine. Good health makes a lot of sense, but it doesn't make a lot of dollars.
Now, the drug industry has every right to make money, no question about that at all. The ethics, I think, need to be very closely watched.
What the pharmaceutical companies are doing may not necessarily be in the interest of our population.
You can be as sincere, and you can be sincerely wrong.
Approximately 106,000 Americans die from pharmaceutical drugs each year. And these are people who took the medication as directed.
There's a lot more turning to alternatives because what's being done beforehand doesn't work.
There is no magic bullet, but there is a lifestyle change that reverses serious chronic disease. It's cheap, it's simple, it's safe, it's effective.
The solutions are here. They've always been here. Every single person in the world, every culture, every language, every person in the world knows it. You are what you eat. Food does matter.
It's a choice. You don't have to be sick.
The epidemic here is worse than previously estimated, much worse.
The message that's been pushed on us, it's your fault you're fat.
Shouldn't be so hard to get them to run around and play, right?
They have voracious appetites and they don't exercise enough.
It's about how active our kids are.
Forget about it.
There are 600,000 food items in America. 80% of them have added sugar.
Your brain lights up with sugar just like it does with cocaine or heroin. You're going to become an addict.
You end up with one of the great public health epidemics of our time.
This is the first generation of American children expected to lead shorter lives than their parents.
I am 12 years old and my doctors have said that I am a statistic.
We're blaming willpower, and it's a crime.
Over 95% of all Americans will be overweight or obese in 2 decades.
We're toast as a country. The sugar industry is extraordinarily powerful. They're in business to make money, not to keep America healthy.
What if our whole approach to this epidemic has been dead wrong?
The government is subsidizing the obesity epidemic.
We've placed private profit ahead of public health. Systematic political failure.
By 2050, 1 out of every 3 Americans will have diabetes.
Those diseases are being driven by sugar.
This is the fundamental problem nobody's talking about in society.
We could cure 80% of the problem where they prepared the food in the school.
Tomato paste is a vegetable? Really?
Junk food companies are acting very much like tobacco companies did 30 years ago.
I would reject entirely any argument that they are in any way harmful.
Lying through their teeth.
Kids are being told the biggest lie they will ever hear in their lives.
Ronald McDonald never sells to children. He informs and inspires through magic and fun.
If a foreign nation were doing that to our children, we would defend our families.
Years from now, we're going to say, I can't believe we let them get away with that.
You have to change the diet of America.
It's all preventable.
Normally I'd eat 2 of those, not 2 slices, 2 whole pieces. I better get out of here. I'm certainly no picture of health. I look like I've swallowed a sheep.
All right, Joe, come on over and step on the scale over here.
Fat. Here it is here, look. I mean, it's sitting here. Sick. I've got a thing called chronic urticaria. I've been taking pills night and day. Looking at these bottles here, it doesn't look good, does it? And nearly dead. I might have already had a heart attack and died. G'day. My name's Joe Cross. I'm the sort of bloke who likes to tackle my demons head on.
Oh, you're from Australia?
I am from Australia.
You got the Russell Crowe thing happening.
The accent?
Yeah, the accent of Russell Crowe.
Yeah, I'm not as good an actor as him.
I hear you.
I came to America to save myself. I'm on a juice fast.
A what?
All I'm going to do is drink juice, green juice, for 60 days.
That's crazy.
What's the issue?
It's called urticarius vasculitis.
Yeah, urticaria, that's what I got. Well, that's extraordinary, mate, because you're about one of the only first people in the world I've ever met that's got the same thing that I've got. What's the prognosis?
Diabetes, numerous medications, heart attack, sudden death because of your weight.
He was on the border of suicide. I've taken so many pills. I don't want any of my kids to see me like this.
I'm not angry. I'm just in pain.
I offered him help. I've got to get over there and see what I can do.
Hiya, mate.
I'm diagnosed with
this.
This is life or death for you right now, in my view. Good luck, mate. As I travelled across the country, you ever fasted?
Only way I got no money to eat, man.
What I gained was far more than what I lost.
You're a new person.
Oh, I'm trying, mate.
This really ain't too bad.
That's okay.
And I learned that the best way to change the world
I gotta watch that and drink this.
is to change yourself.
Today I just weighed myself and I'm down 6 bowling balls, ladies and gentlemen.
And it's nothing short of a miracle.
My medication?
We would definitely be able to lower it, if not get rid of it completely.
Yeah!
He has inspired so many people.
Something I've always wanted to do is to help people.
It's the best feeling ever. Reboot your life. The pelvis hip bone, like here. I was like, I haven't felt that for 10 years. Fat, sick, and nearly dead.
There are cancer-causing chemicals in your house.
God, this thing stinks.
You just don't know where.
Thank you for calling Justice. How may I help you?
It was a simple question.
I'm trying to find out what chemical they would put on a kid's pajamas.
What's in the stuff we buy?
This information is considered proprietary to the company.
Gotcha.
Everyone assumes they can turn the box around, see what's in it.
One big loophole is fragrance, and that can be hundreds of different chemicals.
A lot of them are derived from petrochemical feedstocks.
One of the major problems is that the identity of the chemical is secret.
They don't want consumers to know the ingredients that are in Chanel No. 5 are some of the same ingredients that are used in their toilet bowl cleaner.
If you map the increase of certain diseases against the increased exposure to toxic chemicals, there's a pretty good match there.
That would come, I think, as a shock to most people.
These companies can make their products cheaply if they use more toxic ingredients.
You're just dumping all this toxic stuff into your bloodstream.
But everything causes cancer nowadays, you know what I mean?
Most people think there is something like the FDA for the chemicals in consumer products, but that's not true, and that's by design.
They're going to do whatever it takes to feed their bottom line.
Government isn't really writing the rules.
Congressman Lance, want to talk about the Cosmetic Safety Act? The Cosmetic Safety Act? Yes.
It's the businesses.
Can we get you to commit to take all the toxic chemicals out of kids' products? We don't really believe we have any.
It's the lobbyists that write these rules.
Why shouldn't we shift to a standard that says you have to prove that it's safe?
We think our system is actually better.
The industry fights because it doesn't want to pay for harm.
This is the story of a single father.
Which would you rather have, someone tell the truth or tell the secret?
Truth. Against the trillion-dollar chemical industry.
I take offense when anyone would even insinuate our industry is supporting an increase in the body burden of chemicals.
Where do you think we're headed?
What do you think some of the main benefits for consumers of undisclosed carcinogens and endocrine-disrupting chemicals?
Well, it's not, the issue is complex.
There's just a hypocrisy machine.
Thanks, Cal.
It's my story. But it could be yours.
The Bible is just this book of listed, like a bunch of stories, poems, just knowledge, concepts, methods, just basically just put into one big book.
The Bible is a collection of God's stories of reaching out to man.
It's a book of inspiration. It's a book of hope. It's a book of redemption. It's scandalous. It's exciting. It's a book that is always relevant to your life.
Our daily guide for living is our history, and it's our prognosis of our future.
And it's something that God has left us so that we don't feel so alone, and that we know that there's someone out there that really loves us more than anyone else could ever love us.
Since I'm Greek, I can say that the Bible, Biblos, means book. But we know that the Bible, what makes the Bible extraordinary and why people call it the good book, is a book of books. It's a collection of writings.
I think of it really as the story of God's relationship with people, how he relates to people that he loves, how he relates to us when he creates us, his intentions for us, how he relates to people when we walk away from him, how he seeks people out.
The Bible is a small library, thinly disguised as a book, but formed together into a whole story.
Some of it is wisdom literature. Some of it is pure narrative. You read the Gospels. Some of it is obviously poetry, history, everything mixed up in about 2,000 pages over 1,600 years, and yet there's a thread. There's an overall narrative thread, like in a great epic poem, and then there are all these other thematic threads going from literally the first few books of Genesis to the end in Revelation. Who could make that up? I don't think James Joyce or any great writer could pull that off. It's just, at least for me as a writer, it seems divine.
The Bible is, first and foremost, a record of the events through which God has been revealed in history. The scripture itself says these words: God, who has in times past revealed himself in diverse ways and in diverse manners, has in these last days fully revealed himself in Jesus. That's a pretty good description.
What are the common misconceptions about the Bible?
One of the misconceptions would be that it's limiting and it takes away your freedom to do whatever you want.
Definitely that it's just kind of a big book of rules.
I think the biggest misconception is that the Bible is not alive and active. That 2,000 years ago, that the Bible was relevant, and that in our generation, people will say, well, how do these stories and these accounts, how are they applicable to my life?
People try to take everything purely from a literal perspective, but they're missing out on what the story is around that passage and what that means for us.
Breaking all known records for book sales since 1815, the Bible has sold approximately 5 billion copies and has been translated into more than 2,200 languages or dialects. Its popularity is undeniable, and so is its far-reaching influence on Western culture.
The truth is, democracy as we know it would not exist without the revelation of Scripture. It's the Bible that highlights the dignity of human beings, that men and women were created, quote unquote, in the image of God. Once you look at a person and make the statement, he or she is in the image of God, then you have to treat this person with dignity and respect, and you cannot say that one person is superior to another. It's the Bible that says God is no respecter of persons.